question has to be raised of how much do we trust the history that's been brought down to us? And my answer is very, very little, very little. They're upset because they've given these artifacts over to trusted authorities who have just, as you say, buried them in the basement of the Smithsonian. U.S. military men having PTSD in 2022 because they've had to fight giants who were picking soldiers up with one hand while smacking a whole bunch of the others with the other. You don't have clearance to look at that, and we're going to tell you right now, they don't want to be messed with anymore. We're not to mess with them anymore. Who's them? We call it Project Restoration, and this is Klaus Donna and I, an expert on ancient relics and technologies and cultures. He's quite amazing. He's currently he's applied his technology to locate Japanese treasure chambers, the famous Yamashita's Gold in the Philippines, 215 feet underground. It's 67 meters. And I was talking about this at a conference, and the chap raised his hand and said, have you ever looked into the possibility that it could be 66.6? I said, no, we never have. I don't think. So what I am doing is trying to validate Klaus's technique with the world's most powerful satellites and the best dowsers who work for Exxon and advanced Italian GPR technology to validate it. The next excavation will be in the spring, and I don't want to go too off topic, but what we have noticed, what Klaus has noticed, again, he's the mastermind here, is where there's chambers of the inner earth, we believe at 67-ish meters, somehow others knew that, and they have put their stuff there too. For instance, Knights Templar, only not as deep. There seems to be a pattern and an awareness of that, which begs the question, how would you know? And it begs the question, why would you bury it? Would you bury it because bad people are secretly ruling the world and you don't want them to destroy this valuable information and technology, or we're not ready for it? I really don't know. The question has to be raised of how much do we trust the history that's been brought down to us? And my answer is very, very little, very little. I think we need to revisit almost everything we think we know about everything. And you look at some of the old documents. Again, I mentioned the Old Testament saying there were giants in the earth in those days. And you have Moses going into Mount Sinai, not up it. So, I don't have the answer, but I have a lot of questions. And maybe the texts were altered. Maybe it was Moses going into the Great Pyramid. Maybe it was an entrance to the inner earth. We did a show on the giants of Sardinia, and you go to Sardinia and you speak to these people. They have no vested interest in lying to you. They're upset because they've given these artifacts over to trusted authorities who have just, as you say, buried them in the basement of the Smithsonian, and they're jaded, and they had an opportunity to capitalize on this amazing discovery. And now there's rumors. Okay, they're rumors, but there's rumors of U.S. military men having PTSD in 2022 because they've had to fight giants who were picking soldiers up with one hand while smacking a whole bunch of the others with the other hand. Yeah, so the Alaska Triangle is really a show about the mysteries of Alaska, and you think, well, what mysteries? All you have to do is kind of reflect on the fact that, for instance, Texas is bigger than France. Alaska is twice the size of Texas and is extremely remote. And thus natural phenomena, secluded location for military expeditions, all that sort of stuff we investigate on the show. And we call it the Alaska Triangle, but that's kind of figuratively speaking. That's kind of a play on the Bermuda Triangle. It's the first question I asked of, so where is the triangle? Is it Juneau to Fairbanks to Anchorage to, it's more of a concept than anything else. And you know what I really like about the show is, ever so respectfully, it has real authentic mysteries as opposed to, if I dare, the Bermuda Triangle, which is the much more famous mysterious triangle where ships and planes go missing. And you know what? I don't think any of that's true. And it's all pure invention. I'm talking about things that are mysteries. There's people and planes who kind of go missing. But there's always sort of an explanation. And I have done shows where we actually confront the fact that there really isn't any extraordinary mystery there. Okay, there a few decades ago, some of the really big ones, like the Missing Douglas, 1950, 44 passengers, 6 crew, go missing, and it's a huge plane, and it goes missing, and it's never found, and there's UFO activity reported right before and right after. And if that were today, that would be worldwide news, and people would still be looking for it, but they kind of just swept it under the carpet, and you didn't hear about that again. The UFO lore in Alaska is almost difficult to distinguish between the military presence and what it would appear they're up to in that region. And that's not meant to be like speculative. I mean, if you have to have secret military bases to perform certain activities, right? And what better location? So I really get that, but there is so much that leaks through in terms of stories, not just UFOs, and there's lots of those, but one of my favorite is the underground pyramid. It's 1992, I believe, and there's a chap who's in the military since 81, and he's been studying the maps and saying, okay, the topographical maps, why is there all this black space around the mountain here? So you have all this stuff detail here, but over here is completely so he was always kind of fascinated with that. And then in 92, there was a television broadcast of seismic analysis that has revealed an underground pyramid. And he was like, no kidding. So he went to the television station and said, that's amazing. Can I have a copy of the report? To which they said, no. What report? His curiosity is really piqued now, and so he's researching. I forget what it was for the government, and he's at a place of where there's considerable archives, and he asked to go and look at a section on Alaska, and if I may call the person, the librarian, said, "Yeah, it's over there. Help yourself." I think you have clearance, don't you? And so he started to study these documents, which had insight into the whole subject, and he was physically accosted on that moment by guys saying, "Excuse me, you don't have clearance to look at that, and we're going to tell you right now, they don't want to be messed with anymore. We're not to mess with them anymore." Who's them? The whole concept of an underground pyramid with people that we're not supposed to mess with because they don't want to be messed with anymore brings up so many subjects. It's really, really interesting in terms of what's below our feet, not so much what's in the mountain, because there is, I think it was Pat Price, the chap's name, a remote viewer who has done a lot of work, very, very good, and has found that there is, for lack of a more intelligent term, alien, non-human races living beneath the ground in the vicinity of the mountain. We're actually not physically far from where Brian Moore lives and works and talks about this sort of thing. And when Brian Moore is asked, we have all this footage of other planets, why don't we see cities and buildings And why don't we see signs of? And his answer is, what if it's beneath the surface? There's, of course, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, but it's much more socially accepted that this creature exists. There's a great story of a guy on a boat who picks up another guy who wants to go downriver, and they go in the boat together, and the guy he's picked up falls asleep. So the guy who's driving wakes him up when he gets to the destination, and the guy goes, "Oh, thank you. Don't follow me, because I'm going to turn into a Bigfoot soon."
What?
I'm turning into a Bigfoot.
Well,
and he was really serious. Don't follow me. Apparently a disproportional amount of military presence. There's one account of a military chap who just got transferred to a different base and noticed that there were loads of men with like machine guns and all standing around something and protecting something. He didn't know what, so he went and examined it, and it was a sphinx. The men are guarding a sphinx. Is that what we're talking about? It's the localized legends I think are most fascinating. Stories that pertain to this little village or this part of Alaska. And one of them that comes to mind, which does appear, having said that, in a variety of places, is the Kushata. Kushata, which is this kind of concept of a lost soul. And it's thought to be like people who have gotten lost hiking, and they know they're not going to make it, and so their souls are kind of taken over by the Kushata. What they have reported when they have spoken about it is that if you become a Kushata, your soul is taken over. You grow hair all over your body. You frequently have the head of an otter. There's a really famous, I think it's SS Pachimo ship that got stuck in the ice, and the crew was able to to get out, and then they went back and wanted to get the rest of the kit off the ship. It was gone. It was absolutely gone, and end of story. Until 38 years later, there it is, unmanned but seemingly in control on a river, just like it always had been. Yeah, and we hear about these ghost ships all over the world, but it just makes sense. You're not surprised when you hear about it in Alaska.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.